Now, it's one thing to call out abuse of power, but it's another thing to act like it only exists when the other team is in power. Let's talk about it.
No Kings rallies across the country this weekend. Demonstrators were protesting the president's policies, while some supporters labeled them hate rallies. President Trump called the premise of the rallies a joke and said the protesters are not representative of the country. Listen.
I'm not a king. I'm not a king. I work my off to make our country great. That's all it is. I'm not a king at all.
Chuck Rocha and Kevin Sheridan are here. Chuck is a CBS News political contributor and Democratic strategist. You see him on the left. And Kevin is a Republican strategist and former RNC spokesperson. Good Monday morning to you both, gentlemen, and welcome. So, Chuck, I'll start with you. These No Kings rallies, they were massive, obviously. You see the footage. They were widespread. They send this clear message of displeasure with the president's policies. But for Democrats who don't have much formal power as far as majorities go, what do they do with this? Where does the party go from here?
It's a great question. The reason that these matter is we're moving into an off-year congressional election in the midterm. And what that means is there's no presidential election to motivate people. Normally, in a presidential election, you'll get 60, 70% of the electorate to actually participate in an election. That drops off significantly in off-year elections where only 50% of folks actually participate because there's no president to vote for, just your local congressman, and maybe you have a senator, and maybe you have a governor. So the midterms are about motivation and whose base is motivated to vote. That's
It ain't got nothing to do with motivation. It got to do with keeping you engaged and spinning your wheels to keep you busy for those for every election, but to get you involved, because most people are likely not to vote in those off-year, as they call them, elections. And it makes perfect sense. It's a waste of time. When people who do messaging like these kind of guys and people back in the day like James Carville and those folks, and they come up with these messages. He's not a king. And then you think, well, kings don't go to court. Kings don't have their shit shut down where they have to pause or stop what they were doing until an appeals court rules on it or some shit. That's not what kings do. And I believe if you can make people who don't clearly understand the way the government is working believe that the government is at risk, that's when people get violent. Oh, God, we're not going to have a democracy. And they said and thrown away or thrown around way too easily. People need to think about what they're saying. Don't just be saying, oh, we're not going to have a democracy. You make people panic. People start thinking, man, I want my grandchildren to be safe. I want my family to be safe. I want a job to go to. I want a community. I want schools and stores. And we're making people believe with that type of rhetoric that America is in peril. And by the shit, what has he been in there less than a year? And he's already an authoritarian, a king. And if we go with this kind of talk, there's no way that the violence is going to go in the downward direction. It's only going to get worse. And people are not understanding that kings operate. See, we believe kings are like King Charles and over in England when they're just representative. And over here, we're trying to make everyone believe that Trump is trying to step into an active role as a king. King is a very hard and cruel label to put on someone when you live right in the middle of an imperialistic type society and everyone's been okay and on board with it. So at this point, we need to cut back on this messaging. Who's writing this shit? And speak in reality when you're talking to the electorate. People who have to vote, and you disrespect them to the point of where you just feel you have to lead them around by the nose or else they won't get it. And you have to tell them when to be busy and when not to be busy and when to pay attention and when not to pay attention. Oh, don't worry about that, because it might be something that the other side's doing that's good, and you don't want your people looking at it.
Why yesterday mattered. Folks are displeased, not only Democrats, but independent and some Republicans, because motivation really matters when you're trying to get folks out for a midterm election, which is the next election.
Now, Kevin, it seems that Republicans are trying to change the characterization of the rallies. House Speaker Mike Johnson on Friday called them the Hate America rally, and he doubled down on that yesterday. Let's just quickly play a clip.
There were a lot of hateful messages yesterday. I mean, we have video and photos of pretty violent rhetoric, calling out the president, saying fascists must die and all the rest. I mean, I don't think that's loving speech. I don't think that's friendly speech. And I don't think it's pro-American to say those kinds of things.
So what should Republicans make of that? Of course, Donald Trump as a private citizen was one of the most vocal critiques of President Obama, President Biden. I mean, to criticize a sitting president is a very American thing to do. So what's the Republican play here?
Well, it's different when you criticize a president as a private citizen, which is true. But even as an elected official, you're allowed to criticize the policies and the programs and the ideas of your opponent, but to call them a king when the man is submitting himself to the courts whenever they intervene and tying things up and slowing things down. If he was doing king-like shit, now everybody don't feel that the National Guard should be put into these cities. That's a policy issue. Take away that same authority from all presidents. No president should have it then if it's king-like. Anything that he's doing that the Democrats deem to be king-like, they need to rethink it even when their guy's in power so that it don't happen then. We don't want anything closer to this monarchy, authoritarianism that we already live in. We live in it. It's all underneath our fingernails, and we act like there been some metamorphosis of the country in the 10 months that Donald Trump's been in there. It doesn't happen that way. But I think Donald Trump is rolling with the democracy that we've been living in over, for sure, the last several decades, and they're frustrated because a person they dislike that much has the power and the opportunity in a seat that they had. And no one called Biden a king, and no one called Obama a king, and no one called George Bush, Big Bush or Little Bush a king, or Reagan. Some of these people had policies that people didn't agree with. Some of them got us into wars that people didn't agree with. That's the kind of shit you would think a king would do. Declare war, and next thing you know, we're launching missiles and attacking somebody's homeland. I think we should be very toned down and careful with the rhetoric, and especially when we have a bunch of people who are empowered with a vote, and that is a powerful thing, and it's something so powerful that it makes people seek you out, and it makes people look for you because they can use you. But they don't have anything for you. They just want to know what you're in with that vote and bring it on over here because you don't want to be voting for a king. Well, shit, if he's a king, we shouldn't have to worry about voting for him. He should take care of that part. There's just so much conflict in the language and so much mismessaging and confusion. And some people do give up and they just throw themselves on the mercy of the messaging people and the party that they like or have been raised in. It's very unfortunate to see this because I know we deserve better. Any of us, whether you want to vote for the Democrats or support Trump or whatever you want to do, it should be with a clear lens. I just think that the some of the propaganda and some of the stuff that's going out there is not meant to help. Even though people like you to believe, just vote. I know you don't understand. Don't worry about all that stuff. Just make sure you vote for employee X and candidate B and mayor that, they want to tell you, hey, this guy was a worker. He worked his way up. Vote for him. We know him. And once a person gets voted into office, that's when you really find out who they are. That's when you really find out if they're going to be bought or if they really have an agenda of their own. And if they want to make a small change that's going to be everlasting and impactful, or if they're just in there to line their own pockets and beat their own chests.
The difference is when you call for hateful, actual violence. And Mike Johnson's not wrong there. There was some of that at these rallies. But look, I think Republicans are mostly laughing at this entire move by it looked like a rent-a mob, basically. They bust them all.
Yeah, he's one of those messaging guys. Those guys are advisors, and they come up with snappy lines and help with agendas. But when they snicker, it's because they understand that a lot of this stuff is rhetoric. They understand that a lot of the language is being elevated to get you out of your house, to get you out in the street, to get you moving. And they snicker. They should not be snickering. We just had a No Kings rally that could have turned violent. Whenever you get that many people in one place, there could be a stampede, there could be an act of terrorism, there could be so many different things that could happen just by assembling all those people in that space at that time. And just to keep them engaged. Not that you can't keep them engaged by educating them properly, by telling them the truth, by pulling back the covers on their candidates. Nah, that's too much like right. It's best for you guys to do it your way so that people can vote blindly and not ask for nothing in return, not expect nothing in return. I disagree personally.
We've seen this all before. We've heard all this rhetoric before. I agree with Chuck that they do need to ramp up their turnout effort, obviously, but I don't know that this moves the needle at all. It provided the entire cabinet and the White House to jump on Blue Sky and troll the Democrats all weekend long. So, look, maybe this allows Chuck Schumer to get beyond this protest and open the government back up, because that's what we need to do.
Right, that is the most urgent order of business for the government right now. I want to jump over.
Yeah, I tell you, both the Democrats and the Republicans benefit from this big, strong, powerful government and all of the tools at the president's disposal. He has a huge toolbox of things that a president can do. Can you imagine if he came to your community and he found something going on there that he didn't like? Do you realize the power that a president has and how he could leave a task force behind to rectify that problem, to adjust that situation to his liking? The presidents are very powerful. Presidents can get us in wars. Presidents can get us out of wars. Presidents can make sure people eat. But both of them are benefiting from the same things that they complain the most about. It's just that it's only good when they have the reins. But when they're in the hands of the opposition, it's a bad thing, which means we are both hurling faster toward anti-democracy type behavior than anybody would rather admit. And it's not like we're coming from a more democratic time. This is probably as good as it's gotten and as good as it's going to be up to this point. If we can expect a stronger or better democracy, it's something that's going to happen off into the future. With the history of this country, those have not been the most shining and most wonderful examples of a democracy and some of the things that have gone on in this country, and we can do better. And anybody who thinks that those were better times and want to get back to them is kind of having an issue going on that they probably need to sit down with a teacher or somebody who's patient and willing to transfer some information to them. Because right now, anybody who wants to go back to anything it's just not sensible to think that